Geekazine's special coverage of HP Discover 2011 is brought to you by Iolo System Mechanic. Go over and use the code Geekazine for up to 50% off System Mechanic 10. And Wirecast. Produce all your video straight from your computer right to the internet with Wirecast. Go over to geekazine.com and click on the link. Of course, Geekazine is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Over at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here. All right, continuing coverage of HP Discover. Jeffrey Powers here with Geekazine and the Tech Podcast Network. We're here with Duncan Campbell from HP. How you doing, Duncan?
Doing well, Jeff. Good to see you.
It's good to see. You know, I saw you back in Houston.
That's right.
Yeah, we went to see Dallas Stadium.
Indeed.
And that was a real fun time. And what would you like the most about that?
Well, for the record, was the customer talking about how converged infrastructure is basically betting their brand that, in fact, the Cowboys Stadium their infrastructure would stay up during one of the biggest watched eyeball events in the world, the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So, and I must admit, I was a little concerned, though, Jeff. I didn't know that there was one particular part of the tour that I thought we were going to lose you in. And so,
what was that?
I think it was the cheerleader locker room. But,
yeah, that's right.
But in fact, the bloggers did emerge, and they were taking furious notes. But nonetheless, I think it was a great testimony, in fact, in terms of how the Dallas Cowboys were able to change their whole ratio of what they were spending on IT, which was about 80%, and they were able to flip that to spending now about 80% on innovation and only about 20% on operations.
And you know, the funny thing about this is, about 3 weeks after the Super Bowl, I got an email from you guys and saying, hey, do you guys want to go up to Lambeau Field to talk about the Packers and how they're using HP?
It's true.
And it's very true. It's very, very true. There's a lot of sports technology out there. And that's the cool thing. But we're not talking about sports. We're not talking about how the Packers are the best team of the world.
That's true.
And so on and so forth. But we're talking about the news of HP Discover.
Exactly.
And tell us, what was the big thing that came out of this right now?
Okay, well, fair enough. And really, this event is just chock full of converged infrastructure news. And a lot of this has to do with the overall direction that we're taking the converged infrastructure, which is more extending the converged infrastructure and providing solutions now to go from infrastructure to applications. So the way I break it down is into 4 areas. Okay. And the first part is really around the converged systems. And these are systems that we put together that are almost prepackaged. They can be build-to-order or appliances from the factory that hit really critical customer pain points. So around virtualization, around cloud, and then specific application integration. It's all about accelerating IT to get better business results.
IT to get better business results. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just kind of just lock into that because it's true. Because at the end of the day, customers, you know, they don't really care about converged infrastructure, but what they do care is about what it enables them to do.
Like watch a Packer game.
Yeah, like watching a Packer game. Okay.
So, we've had 2 days so far of some great stuff. We found out about the EcoPods and stuff like that.
Correct.
And the ability to get a server room up in any situation, whether it be a natural disaster like the tornadoes we've been having as of recent, or just the fact that a new company is emerging needs to get done like that, and going from there and putting in all that information on the spot right then and there and get it going within 2 months as opposed to 2 years. Amazing numbers right there.
Right. And I guess what I find what's important for me when I think about the EcoPod is that it can be a very nice complement to what you have. So in other words, a lot of customers are already making the move from very old brick and mortar to more newer type of more modular, scalable versions of that. So this is a nice complement to what their plan and their strategy already exists and how better to execute that. You might also see it as a way to bridge to more even innovative ways, such as to the cloud. And even with our one of our customers, one of our clients, DreamWorks, a couple years back when they were making, probably was Shrek 2 at that point, instead of building out their data center they said, well, we just need it for all this test and development and doing these 3D type of movies that are very consumptive from a storage and capacity standpoint. So they said, let's kind of wheel in one of those pods here, and then when we're done with it, you take it back. So if you complement that as a nice bridge, you know, to help you during kind of peak environments, and the fact that we can have flexible business models like financing, that's a very creative solution. Now it turns out they're using things like private cloud, so they're even past that bridge. They're on to, in fact, even more innovative ways to do that, like with our cloud systems.
So if we watch DreamWorks, whatever they're doing is what we're going to be doing in the future, right?
There you go. Not just the movie.
That's actually pretty interesting, because once again, you don't think of these things. You just go to the theater, you pay your $50 for popcorn and dead admission, and then go see a movie. You don't think that they've got all these systems behind there that's creating this movie and making sure everything is working as one well-oiled machine.
Precisely right.
Now I heard that they didn't bring a pod here.
No, there is a pod here.
Well, there's a partial pod over here.
A partial pod, yes.
But they wanted to bring an actual pod here and put it in the parking lot. Have you actually seen the whole pod?
Oh yeah. So I've been to what's called Pod Works in Houston. Mm-hmm. So and believe me, I think I wanted to live there. I think it was so hot. I said, I think I'm just going to lock myself in here. But they pried me out of there. But it's very creative, because these are pod works that allow us to build these, let's say, these new ecopods, these 20-foot data centers, customized for your requirements, and then ship them out.
Okay.
And again, so again, a very innovative way. You could almost say even kind of indicative of how we're trying to shake things up in the market. It's almost disruptive, and that kind of leads us, I think, to a topic that I know you were interested in, and I'm very interested at this show, which has been converged storage.
Definitely. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, my pleasure. And I think it's indicative of almost a new attitude in the storage team within Dave Donatelli's ESSN business, which is a much more aggressive way and a much more strategic way to think about storage. So not so much in the traditional type of blocks, type of monolithic storage, but more about highly virtualized environments and then environments that really cater more towards utility type of storage. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that has to do with, given the fact we've invested fairly heavily, as you know, like with Left Hand, with iBricks, and some of the innovations that are being shown here, but also with 3PAR. So it gives us, I think, a lot more weapons, plus our own organic type of capabilities, such as with our new EVA, to really expand upon what we can do for customers in this business, but also leverage off the converged infrastructure strategy, leverage off those standard pieces of common modular architecture, put in place storage software on top, and give it a new personality. So it's, you know, given the fact that you have all these assets now, you can be very creative on what you can cook up.
Definitely. We also talked about, and forgive me if I mess up on the name, Vertica?
Correct.
Vertica, yes, where now it's preemptive thinking in certain situations. Right.
And in fact, yesterday it was pretty cool, because they had the CIO from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and he was talking about how they made a bet with Vertica, but it was from his own eyes and his terms of what he could do for his patients, what he could do to be that much more quicker to respond to inquiries on health, and be able to be much more responsive that way to his clients. So it was really, it was very difficult, not prohibitive, but it was really tough for him before, because the idea of these big data analytics and how to get these searches and the insight, and now what we can do with Vertica so much more in a so much more responsive fashion, is just breathtaking.
Exactly. And you know, the funny thing was about it, I was watching some of the tweets that were coming through when they started talking about Vertica. One person goes, "Oh, Big Brother is watching." But now you've just put it into a situation where you want somebody watching. So you could say, "Oh, well, maybe you need we need this treatment, but maybe you need to be on this treatment because you've got diabetes or
right.
you've got an allergic reaction to this or something like that.
Precisely. And I think they'll probably have a few more customers after the Discover event, given they've been in Vegas all week. They'll probably take full advantage of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. Any other news that we missed out on?
Well, absolutely. There's probably one other thing that I would say is been very important for us as well, has been more the integration and based on the news of what happened at Interop with HP networking.
Okay.
And so it has to do really with networking really providing a much more comprehensive architecture, not just for the data center, which we had with Flex Fabric before, but now for the campus and the branch office, and aligning our products and our intellectual property around that. And so it is very impressive now what they can do. So it's not just that these products perform well, that's great, but the fact that now you can have like a single OS for all these different products, so your TCO, the way you manage that is fantastic, and now how we're starting to integrate that in such an aggressive way to attack latency, complexity, flatten the network. So it's, I think the news and buzz around networking is really very hot as well.
And of course the factor of not everything is going to be HP in some environments.
Correct.
And how HP is working to become unified in, not really unified, but kind of unified, to work with these other systems, so they all work in a unification.
Well, actually, that really speaks, I think, to a real customer concern, which is some of these things sound great, but if you're going to require me to rip and replace everything and you can't work with what I have installed, that's really a non-starter. Yeah. And so from our standpoint, being very attentive to the install base, how we can work with that, even if it's not HP, is very important as part of how we address the converged infrastructure and how we go to market.
Okay, perfect. Anything else we missed, or?
I think at this point, that's
We've
a clean
got a lot
sweep.
of news right here, yeah.
We traveled far.
Next week we're going to talk about thin paper, and we're going to talk about how these servers. No. Anyway, I've been asking everybody, since everybody knows HP.com. Usually I close out with what's the website. That's kind of silly. My question to you is, what's the one book or white paper or document that people should think about picking up to read or listen to or anything like that?
Yeah, so what I would suggest is when you go to the HP.com external website for the converged infrastructure, there's some fabulous videos on there from Dave Donatelli, for instance, we'll be posting here from Discover, that really crisply synthesize what we can do for customers. And I would also suggest that there's some fantastic kind of short, easy to read type of white papers on what the converged infrastructure is and what it can do for you.
All right. Do you have a Twitter handle by chance?
I don't have it completely memorized, but
okay.
I'm getting very dangerous right now.
Okay. Well, once you have that, we'll let everybody know how to get a hold of you from
My
there.
pleasure, and we do pump out our blogs there, so we get busy with that.
Do you have a blog on HP? Or
yes,
no?
we do. Yes, I do.
Where's your blog?
It's under the converged infrastructure, so we put it out about once every week or once every 2 weeks at the latest. So
okay, well there you go. If you wanna check out what Duncan's talking about out there, you can go there. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to Twitter me at Geekazine, and I'll get those questions out to anybody here at HP. So
sounds great, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Duncan.
My pleasure.
All right, well that's it from this part of the news and a lot of cool news, lots of great news that are coming from HP Discover, and we're not even done yet. I mean, we've got 2 more days, and then Paul McCartney. Yeah, that's kind of cool too. So, anyway, for HP Discover, Jeffrey Powers, Geekazine, and the Tech Podcast Network, we got more great interviews. So don't change that dial if there's a dial on the internet anymore. And we will be right back with some more great stuff. So stay tuned. Geekazine's special coverage of HP Discover 2011 is brought to you by Iolo System Mechanic. Go over and use the code Geekazine for up to 50% off System Mechanic 10. And Wirecast. Produce all your video straight from your computer right to the internet with Wirecast. Go over to geekazine.com and click on the link. Of course, Geekazine is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Over at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here.